Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Neil Lennon signs contract extension at Aberdeen. Brendan Rodgers adds Edouard to tomorrow's squad for Hamilton. Craig Levein claimed Jamie Walker was made false promises. Yeah, just a few of the topics we'll be discussing tonight. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, I'm delighted to say. On this Thursday, Hugh MacDonald is our bootroom guest from the Daily Mail, looking resplendent in his brand new tie. He spent a lot of money on this outfit, Ruffy. It looks absolutely dangerous. I mean, that's clubbing stuff.
Yeah, the tie. I mean, it just shows you the man's quality that he can pick a tie of that stature.
Yep, absolutely, and it also doesn't strobe, which helps. Anyway, he's here with us, delighted to have his company. Lots to talk about. First and foremost, Neil Lennon signs the contract extension at Hibs. He's happy there till 2020.
I think it's a great move for Hibs. I mean, you know my views on Neil Lennon as a manager. I think he's vastly underrated, mostly because of a bad choice he made in going to Bolton Wanderers, which was the definition of a basket club case. Basket club case.
I'm so glad you get basket out of me. We were off air. It's as simple as that.
It's just like this new tie. He's just going for it. But I mean, you know, if you look at his record with Celtic, it's been excellent. His record with the Hibs I think is excellent because he went there, had to get them out of the division, got them out of the division. So far, so good. So I think it's a great move for Hibs. One of the other great story about the Hibs is that, and you'll know, Alan, being close to the club as well, is the way the fans have bought into this as well. People are not really talking about it, but the Hibs attendances have been really good over the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I think will be significant in this year especially, Ruffy, is the mindset. He's got, a real backbone of steel. He won't tolerate anybody dropping below a certain standard. And he certainly won't be himself tolerant of, and I hate to say this about Hibs, you know, sometimes mid-table, sometimes these things are good enough for them. Not in his book.
No, I think they'll soon find out that Neil's a very successful person and he'll want to succeed in anything he does, and succeeding for him will be he'll set targets that other people have got to match, you know, and if they don't match it, then we've already seen wee bits of, you know, dressing room just going through everybody and letting them know what exactly the position is. So I think some of the players, if they don't live up to these expectations, then they'll soon hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a winner, and that's what he wants to be at the club.
Yeah, and of course, he was fairly happy today, explaining why he committed himself to that new deal.
I don't like that word potential, but there's huge avenues that we can, you know, look at. We're getting good crowds, which is important. You know, the training ground is, you know, an excellent facility, and we've been able to attract some quality players to the club. And I see Hibs as a big club in Scotland, big city club, and obviously we want to re-establish that. It's going to be hard work. It's not given to you, but again, that's a challenge that lies ahead for me.
Yeah, his perception of the club is a big club. I mean, I'm not being disparaging towards Hibs when I suggested that they would get away with mid-table, but at times, you know, they would be tolerant of that at times. There wouldn't be a huge outcry. There'll be a huge outcry from the manager if they go, you know, 2 games without a win. They'll be going crazy. He wants top 3, I think.
Yeah, and so will the supporters. You know, he's already said there, you know, it's nearly a full stadium turnout, which puts pressure on everybody to win games. They like to come along in their numbers and go away with a smile on their face. And he's right, you know, Hibs have got a history that going back of a very successful side and a side playing in Europe. You know, there was a wee spell, 10, 15 years when it dropped off a wee bit, but Neil will know the targets that the supporters will want to achieve.
I think the other key element here is the fact that he was able to hold on to John McGinn when many, including myself, thought the door would have been knocking. That
was an interesting one during the transfer window, wasn't it? The way I was pretty certain that John McGinn would leave this transfer window. That's a great bit of business holding on to him. But his recruitment has been excellent. He's been backed by Leanne Dempster and the board as well. I mean, the recruitment that'll cost a penny or two. There's, you know, some really good players gone into that side. Players that have international pedigree, players of real quality. So when Neil Lennon's talking about finishing, you know, near the top end of the league, you know, that he'll take no else, and he'll be targeting not only a good cup run, but, you know, maybe get. I mean, everybody now, the shadow hanging over everybody is Celtic, you know, but in a cup competition, teams can have a bad day and you can win. So. Sorry?
You mentioned Leanne there, Hugh. I think that's been a key issue as well. I think her ability to communicate with the fans, the Scottish Cup going round everywhere, I thought was fantastic. They really made a great effort, great PR. But I think that communication with the fans that maybe wasn't as good with Rod Petrie because he wasn't as upfront as she is.
No, there's a complete restructure of the club. I think the supporters will think back 3 years ago. When it was in disarray, there was like protests here, protests there, you know, divided supporters, and they brought them all together. You know, obviously winning the cup had a big part of that. But again, being at a club, you know, is successful, everybody gets on board, and it's steadied the ship.
Okay, let's switch our attention to the back page headlines. When you got up this morning, the back page of the Daily Record, Griff gets the all clear for PSG. Will he be available for Hamilton Accies tomorrow night? GMS was way too drunk. This was obviously Derek McInnes talking about the situation with Gary Mackay-Steven, which is well and truly behind them. And the Sun, don't drink and dive, which I think the sub-editor there needs to be taken out for a good night out, because it's quite a good headline. You've got to give it to him. I'm happy with that one. Pedro's training tops, Kenny Miller backing Pedro Caixinha. And the Daily Mail is, again, just those sidebars with football in mind. It could be a boost for Celtic in the Champions League. Angel Di Maria looks set to miss out on the opening match day 1 in the Champions League group. And again, Miller backing Caixinha, and Don's boss issues Gary Mackay-Steven with a warning. But the back page of The Sun wins it for me.
Great headline. I mean, that's one thing I miss about working in newspaper back benches, was coming up with a great head. You know, when you've got a really good back page story, come up with a really good headline that just tease up the story to absolute perfection, and that guy did it this morning. Yeah,
absolutely. Still doesn't beat George Michael's "Zip Me Up Before You Go, Ruffy," to be honest with you, but that's just in a league of its own. As far as the headlines are concerned, I think Griffiths, I thought when he, you know, quickly stopped holding his calf, I thought, oh, here we go again. Brendan Rodgers will be cursing this situation. But it looks as if, you know, he'll be available for PSG. I'm not too sure he'll risk him on the Hamilton AstroTurf, Ruffy. I think maybe we're in a situation where Odsonne Edouard will get the run out. He's been added to the squad.
No, I think Celtic have already proved that they can do without big players in certain games, and he's always told us that he has players that can go in there and play in different positions. I don't agree with it all the time. If your best striker's available, you would want them on the park, but obviously they've got players who can score goals from other positions, so I'm sure they'll feel quite confident. But if he doesn't play that game,
yeah, week in, week out, you know, you can play. I mean, we already talked about Steve McLean won't play in AstroTurf. If you've got a calf problem, Hugh, I can't see Griffiths playing.
No, I don't think Griffiths will play at all. The interesting one is, does he play the PSG loanee, or does he go with Patrick Roberts as a false number 9? Now, he really rates Roberts in that role. So that'll be an interesting selection dilemma for him for tomorrow night. I've got a funny feeling that the Edouard will be on the bench and Roberts will start as a kind of what we all know now is a fake number 9, a false number 9.
Yeah, well, we've already seen the love-in picture of Patrick Roberts back together with Kieran Tierney, and Tierney saying he knew all along he was coming back. He kept it as a good secret. He will add another dimension to them, Ruffy, that's for certain. And Hamilton, are we at this point where Hamilton are going to be the team? We ask everyone every week, are they going to be the team to stop this invincible run?
You wouldn't have thought so, but again, you know, going to Hamilton, they'll put up a good shift, I would think, for the first 20-30 minutes. The more you can stop Celtic from scoring, the better chance you've got. And I think Martin Cannon's right. You know, if they are going to get beaten, it might be that kind of night, you know, when they're they're up against it and they nick a wee goal and then things don't happen. But it's got to happen sometime. I just don't think it'll be tomorrow night.
Yeah, I didn't pick Hamilton defeating Hibernian, but this one would have to be monumental again. It would be a huge off day, and Brendan Rodgers hasn't struck me just yet as the manager has let them take their foot off the gas.
No, another interesting thing about it is, you know, he's got the Scotland boys coming back, you know, 6 of them, and he's got to look and say, well, you know, who's fresh and who's not. Well, Griffiths is immediately out. Gordon is a goalkeeper, and as Ruffy knows, goalkeepers don't work for a living anyway, so he'll be fresh. But he's got so much in his team that he can, you know, at his disposal. I mean, McGregor, I would think, would be an absolute certain starter tomorrow night, for example. So he's got so much that he can revitalise his team that the international kind of aftermath shouldn't really be a factor.
Yep. Okay, after this break, we'll hear from the Celtic manager, Brendan Rodgers. We'll also hear from the Rangers boss, Pedro Caixinha, and Hearts manager, Craig Levein. He'll be itching to get into that dugout for the first time, but he's had a little swipe at another club for their handling of the Jamie Walker affair. We'll find out who next. Close one, close one. Well done to you, Hugh. 1958 is indeed the answer there. I was thinking about Elvis. You were a couple of years out, Ruffy. You just didn't get that one.
Oh, was it Elvis that got it for you?
Yeah, more like Wolves. I knew Wolves had. I was Swithern. I knew Wolves would be pretty late. You were just completely bewitched by the thought of Barbara Windsor, and that's why you were all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not go there, Hugh. You've got an uncanny knack of taking this programme to the edge of the cliff. Anyway, we heard from Neil Lennon on his new deal, and of course, the weekend fixtures kick off with Hamilton against Celtic tomorrow night. And Brendan Rodgers, well, maybe one eye on Paris Saint-Germain. Not a bit of it, says the Celtic boss.
Very, very important for us for different reasons. We want to ensure that we're winning as many games as we possibly can in as many competitions as we can. So you know, the league is our bread and butter. It's very, very important for us, and our real focus is to get, you know, the result against Hamilton. And then once we finish that game, we can then really get our focus in on the Paris Saint-Germain game. But it's a really exciting time. It's not a chore. It's not, you know, this is what you're in football for. You know, we've got a busy schedule now between now and the Christmas period. But yeah, it's what we want.
Just before I get your predictions on this, just briefly on this, Hugh, that's what's keeping him really excited. It's not being, again, dismissive of what's on offer in the Scottish football and the domestic scene. It's Champions League where he wants to prove a point he can get Celtic beyond a certain position in December. Yeah,
and that's where his reputation is going to be made in a wider sense, and that's what it's all about. He's made it very clear. He's a young man. There's at least another major move in him. I think the way to get a major move, the only way to get a major move is real success in Europe. So, I mean, he'll not be prioritising that because he's not daft. He knows that you've got to win the bread and butter. You've got to do that first. But that's where he'll certainly be judged.
Okay, now let's have a look at the fixtures then. If it's Hamilton against Celtic on the Friday, where does the rest of the card fit in? Hearts against Aberdeen, Motherwell, Kilmarnock, Rangers at home to Dundee, Ross County, Partick Thistle, and St Johnstone against Hibernian. So it's going to be a really packed Saturday afternoon for us. Join us if you can from 2 o'clock on STV2. Let's switch our attention to Hearts against Aberdeen, because there is a suggestion, Ruffy, that Hearts are not going to allow Aberdeen to actually train on the Murrayfield pitch.
I don't see why that would be a problem to Aberdeen. You know, it's I know it's a rugby pitch, but I mean it'd be kept in good order. I would think the grass would be short enough, but they'll be able to get a warm up. You know, before the game. You know, they could go in early and get a taste of what it's like. I think it's more about the atmosphere you have to deal with. I mean, I've actually played on the park in a football game, and it is vast. I mean, we think Hampden lacks a bit of atmosphere. I think Murrayfield, with obviously the attendance that's going to be there, it's going to be quite. They'll be vocal, but it's a massive stadium to fill. But I think that's what you would have to get your head around before the surface.
Yeah. If you mentioned that Hibs fans are turning out in great numbers, I think Hearts fans have also been consistent last season. When they've got something to cheer about and they get a little sniff of, you know, getting into the top half and really pushing, as Robbie Neilson managed to get them, they were out in force. And
they were also backing the club behind the scenes as well. I mean, the foundation of Hearts has been really, supporters have been integral to that. And Aberdeen, the reports are Aberdeen have sold an awful lot of tickets for this match as well. It's sold at least 5,000 tickets for this match, so it'll be a decent attendance. It'll be a very good attendance, but as Ruffy says, that is. I mean, I've been at that stadium in sort of rugby duty, spectating there. And if it's not jam packed, you're right. It can be a sort of echoing stadium,
One thing we always love on this programme is a little spat, a disagreement, and there's a fair few been going around over the last couple of weeks. This Jamie Walker one has just gathered a little bit of pace. Craig Levine reckons Jamie Walker was made some false promises, or promises that certainly were never going to materialise, but it wasn't from the Hearts end.
I don't want to go into too much detail, but if I was Jamie, I'd be a little bit disappointed that a lot of the promises that were made to him weren't kept, and not from our club.
Well, what do you make of that?
What I make of that is light blue touch paper and retire 10 yards. I mean, that's just fantastic. I mean, because if you put up now, what club could he possibly be talking to? I mean, there's so many clubs,
Yeah. I mean, what do you make of that argument? He's talking about Rangers.
Well, the first thing is, I mean, I can't remember now, did Hearts give Rangers permission to speak to him?
Not any time.
No, they made one bid, rejected, two bids, rejected, and stated they wanted $1 million.
Well, he's insinuating that Rangers has tapped him then, and promised him things behind the scenes, and he's obviously waited his time to bring it out into the open, but it's a tough road to go down, because obviously the player, it looked as if the end of that was, well, I'll just wait until January and I'll just sign a pre-contract. Now, if the boy's been really, really disappointed with what he's been promised, then that might just turn that in its head.
Yeah, I hate to suggest this. The real furore around Jamie Walker, I mean, has he set the header on fire? Is he someone that you'd look at and you think to yourself, I don't see the consistency yet. I think if I was Jamie Walker, I think I'd get my head down and try and produce some 5-star displays for Hearts on a regular basis, and maybe back up some of this hype.
I like him. I like him as a player, Peter. Don't get me wrong, I really do. I think he's got potential. I agree, he's not got consistency. The thing I can't get my head around is why you would lose Barry Mackay and then go after Jamie Walker. I can't get my head around that, because I would always have thought, me personally, and football's all about opinions, if you've got a Barry Mackay in your camp, why would you want a Jamie Walker?
Well, again, I'll offer you an alternative opinion on this one as well. Barry Mackay didn't do it consistently for Rangers. No, I mean, there was a lot of hype. I mean, I read one back page headline, 6 million RB Leipzig, and I thought to myself, you've got to go and have a word with yourself. Barry Mackay was at one point struggling to get in the Rangers side. Then when he got in, I think he started to read some of the back page nonsense, and then he just fell away again. I mean,
I think there was enough in Mackay though to be a Rangers player. I think what's happened in the Championship with him already. With Nottingham Forest has shown that. I mean, he's a more than capable Championship player. I reckon Nottingham Forest got a bargain in today's market at £500,000 for him, and I don't see a marginal great difference between a Barry Mackay and a Jamie Walker. I really don't.
Yeah, Ruffy, here's Pedro Caixinha's take on Jamie Walker.
I'm not disappointed on that. I was only disappointed if I was not having coverage on all the positions. Now I have, and as I told you since the very beginning, I can say it all day long and all the time. I have the best squad, I have the best players, so I'm happy.
Okay, I think I'm falling out with everybody in this programme, Ruffy. I have to disregard the back end of that, because that's just a lot of nonsense. I almost think it's like a rallying cry. The Rangers fans will judge whether he has a good team or not by the results. Just go and win games, and and stop bleating on about the best squad, the best players and everything. I mean, that's go and prove it out in the park for
that's
them.
Right, that's the best players and the best squad. Well, at the end of the day, the proof will be in the pudding, and where Rangers end up at the end of the season, or what they do from now to Christmas, and the games that they win and the games that are coming up. We know the game, but we're talking about the Celtic game, and the Rangers supporters, I think, will be looking at this game. And it's unfortunate for him, but he'll be judged on it, And I'm not saying what the score's going to be, but if it was a bad one, then that would set him back another 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, there's good news, Hugh, because the spat with Michael O'Halloran still. That's the embers are still just at this moment going, possibly reaching their end. Hopefully, this is what he had to say on Michael O'Halloran's comments.
I respect all the thoughts or the sentence from everyone. I just need to be pleased with him and also with Tony, because I think they weren't the player and the manager of the Mount. He's still one player from us. So it's up to him. I'm not going to discuss, and even less discuss it in public, things that I know and I believe, and I study a lifetime to do it. So it's his decision. I respect it, and just hope that he continues doing very good, because ultimately he's our player. And if they want to buy it, or someone wants to buy it, if he's scoring goals, will be perfect for us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sensible answer, in many ways. But you've got to remember the whole thing about this. We couldn't have had O'Halloran's comments without having Kashinya's comments, first of all.
Yes.
And we couldn't have had them for a variety of reasons. The very cogent reason was O'Halloran, of course, would have nothing to react to, but more importantly, O'Halloran could sit at the press conference knowing that there was no way back. The guy's destroyed them. Yeah. The guy said, "You're not coming back." So it's not as if there's any ambivalence from Michael O'Halloran. Oh, wait a minute, I'll have to be a wee bit careful there. He can just knock it out the park.
Yep, absolutely. And I think reading into that one, if he plays well, then he'll be sold. It's as simple as that. We'll have another question. Hugh is one in front, and there's more football chat coming up. Join us if you can. So close, but yet so far. Didn't get that one. Can't believe that, Hugh. I thought it was right on the mark there. Roger Moore was the one that threw me.
Yeah, I was 2 years off. Well, you got it right, Ruffy.
No.
You could actually, if you'd have been smart about your usual face, you could have stolen it.
If there wasn't a million people watching. Somebody might have caught.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I must have first of all say welcome back after that short break for the news. Delighted that Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail is alongside Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin. Don't forget, you can join us on Saturday afternoon, every Saturday, 2 o'clock till 6, when there's domestic fixtures on the card. We'll be here bringing you interviews, of course, reporters at the key games, updates right across Scotland, and we'll keep an eye on the Premier League in England as well. So, Championship. I've got to say congratulations to Alan Johnson. He wins the Manager of the Month in that division. And Dunfermline really have been the dark horses, Alan Ruff. Gordon Smith mentioned it on the programme.
Yeah, he did. And obviously, I think when we all saw the Rangers score, the hammer and the Ibrox, we all went, oh, wait a wee minute, maybe they're not ready. But certainly all credit to them. They bounced back right after that game. Obviously a few words were said after it, but the players have bought into everything that Alan's done, and they've got their just rewards.
I think somewhere along the line, sometimes managers can just be at a club where it just doesn't work out for them. And for me, Kilmarnock was, at that time, a poison chalice.
Yeah, and it didn't work out for him. I'm not surprised, as you know, with the Dunfermline thing, because I've tipped him, I tipped him at the start of the season to win the championship.
Yeah.
And here.
Yeah.
And why do you all forget all this when they get things right?
What weird, Ruffy and I will be going to the board to check that.
I mean, I thought if you took out the obvious ones, such as Dundee United and Falkirk, Dunfermline had more than a good chance. And the reason that I was emboldened by that was I watched live the game they had against Hearts when they ended up really putting the final death nail in the Cartho regime. And I thought they were excellent that day. They've got a great mixture of good young players with good older pros like Joe Cardle and Higginbotham. I think the manager's a smashing manager. I think he had one poor decision going to Kilmarnock, although it wasn't a poor decision at the time, but it didn't work out well. If you look at like Queen of the South, he was excellent, been excellent here. I'm not saying they're a stick on to win the championship. I just thought at the beginning of the season that they offered value.
Yeah, and we had Callum Higginbotham in here last week as a guest, Ruffy. I mean, 17 goals in the last 5 games. They've got them from all over the park.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Particularly the front three have got goals in them. And as we spoke about it when Higginbotham was in here, they've got a wee bit of excitement about them. They've got two wide players who do excite you. They're good on the ball. We saw Callum scoring some fantastic goals, individual goals, and that keeps the supporters on board. But no, I think when you get in that kind of winning run, it comes very, very easy.
Okay, if there's a team that potentially could stop them, a lot of people's favourite for that division is almost certainly Dundee United. Here's how they fit into the fixtures in the Championship over the weekend, as well as Brecon City against Falkirk. It's Dundee United at home to Dumbarton, Livingston, Queen of the South, Morton against Dunfermline, and St Mirren against Inverness. And if we were talking about the goals that Dunfermline were scoring, maybe Dundee United haven't been as good in the scoring stakes, and this is something Ray McKinnon is keen to address.
Different circumstances have dictated that. Scott MacDonald's come in, missed pre-season, and he's still trying to get up to speed. James Keatons has been out injured. It's another striker. Patrick's come in and needed. So we've not had a strike line that's fit and ready and raring to go just yet, and we're still not there yet. So there's no concern. It's just the circumstances dictate that. And with people like Scott Fraser being out injured and things like that, it does take its toll on the team. We'd much rather have everybody fit and raring to go. And I think when you see everybody fit and up to speed and pushing each other on, I think you'll start seeing goals going in from these players. But they're still needing to get to that level, and that's probably the reason why you're seeing a lack of goals at the moment.
Yeah, Paul McMullen's flying the flag for them.
Yeah, and of course they lost Murray as well. So I mean, there's good cogent, sensible reasons there. I mean, Scott MacDonald will be excellent in that division. He'll score goals for them. Dundee United, though, you get the impression with Ray McKinnon teams, and I don't say this in a disparaging way because I really rate him as a first-class coach and organiser, that they're not going to be expansive and free-flowing. They're going to be a team that wins 2-0, 1-0. And yeah, they're worthy favourites for the title, but I think goals will come fine for them. Yeah,
Dundee United taking on Dumbarton. The game of the day screaming out at us, which our reporter Des McKeown will be at, is Morton against Dunfermline. I mean, I don't think there's any argument over that one, Ruffy.
No, I think if you ask anybody, when you get drawn against Morton, the first thing you always say is difficult place to go and get a win. It's a wee tight park, and Morton have got experienced players there, and they play particularly well in the first half of the season. So when they're fresh, they'll go there, and I think it'll be a hard one to get the 3 points.
Yeah, and it is a division, I have to say, Hugh, where it's getting tougher to see, who's got. As you mentioned, I think a couple of weeks in the show, nobody's going to get it all their own way in this one because St Mirren are on a good run. Jack Ross has got them believing again. It's no longer about staying away from relegation. This is about pushing and winning.
I think that for me, I know Morton stands out as a place to go, or Capello stands out as a place to go tomorrow, but I think just along the road is a hugely intriguing game for a variety of reasons. yes, Murn had that blip where they lost heavily. They've come back strongly. They look, Gavin Riley's scoring goals for them. They're looking, you know, confident, enterprising, eager. But Inverness, Cally Thistle had a, you know, very discouraging start to the season. They've come back a bit. This is a huge game for John Robertson tomorrow. You know, they've got to really set down their marker that they're, you know, they're in this division, not just to survive, but to fight at the top end. I think that's another cracking game Saturday.
Yeah, I think obviously they went down the division. Everybody says you've got to bounce back very quickly. You could spend another 2-3 seasons in there. So I think it's important that they do start winning games, because I think obviously they'll be structured to be in the big league, and because they've been so successful winning cups and all that. So I think they'll want to get back up as quick as possible. I think they are one of the teams that if they don't get right up, they could be there for a while.
Well, the thing about it was, I thought, you know, the implosion at Inverness was so bad that I thought at one stage, you know, and I don't want to catastrophise, but at one stage when I was thinking to myself, this could be a team like a Dunfermline of a few years ago that could go, you know, they could be falling without a parachute.
Yeah.
You know, it needs a bit of stability. Even a season where they challenge and see, I don't see them getting promoted this year. I don't even see them making the playoff places this year or the playoff spot this year. They might meet the places, but I don't think they'll gain the playoff spot. But I think they really need a season where they stabilise, ready to make a springboard back to the top division.
So you've picked Dunfermline, I picked Dundee United. Who did you pick, Ruffy?
I think I went for Falkirk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that. There are easily six teams with a bit of history, and they should be thinking they should be involved. Inverness is one of them, almost certainly. St Mirren, Morton, Dunfermline, Dundee United and Falkirk.
Yeah.
Out of that six, where would you pick your four?
Well, I'm going to still stick with Falkirk. I think Peter Houston will be disappointed with the last 3 seasons. They've been chapping on the door, you know, and just failing at the last minute. And I think this year he maybe have thought, right, I've got the players I need. I think John Baird leaving, I don't know how that happened, but I think he's a big miss for them. But I still think they'll get their act together and they'll be in that top 4 again.
Yeah. If you want me to see the two that I don't think will be in the top 4, which would probably be easier, it'll be Inverness and Morton.
Inverness and Morton, Ruffy?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think obviously Jim's done tremendously well there, but I think they'll just fall short.
Just before we go to the break, you know me, Ruffy, elephant memory. Come on then, give us your take on Scotland, because I'm not letting you away without...
What about Scotland? Scotland have beaten the 2 teams below them in the section.
Yeah. You didn't think they were going to, though?
No, I thought they would win those games. These games. Yeah. I don't think they're going to qualify. Oh no, I thought they would win these games.
Yeah, both of them.
No, I feared it might have been a draw against Lithuania. I really feared that.
That's what I was alluding to.
Sorry, I feared that could be a draw. I was glad to be proved wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm not overly. I think there's been a lot of overhype over beating a Lithuania team that everybody beats and beating Malta at home. The
reason I'm mentioning this to you is because somebody said they posted a message on Facebook to peterandruffy.com, and they said, Hugh, always so negative, always negative about it, you know, when everybody's trying to be positive with the country. I like objectivity.
People will say negative, and that's fine, but I think it's trying to be realistic.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, everybody's now going, it's back on track for, Les, it's back on track for the World Cup, and that's great. I'm not trying to do it. But the fact of the matter is, we beat the 2 teams in the section that we should be beating.
Yeah.
And the big disaster in this section will be, and I'll tell you, at the end of this section, the big disaster, win, lose or draw, will be not beating Lithuania at Hampden.
Yeah. OK, you think we'll beat Slovakia?
Could be, I hope so. I hope so. But
I think we'll go to Slovenia and win.
I hope so again, but I don't see anything in the form. If you ask me, and I think the Slovakia game is you're relying on us to beat a team that beat us 3-0 away.
Yeah, OK. I tried my best to Danny, who had sent us the message on Facebook. I tried my best. I defended Hugh. There's a little bit of positivity, Danny. I'm sure you'll agree. Hopefully you and your wife will stick with him. I was all over the place at that one, Hugh. I just didn't have a clue.
I completely lost my shape in that one.
Yeah, Ruffy, no
There's
point.
been that many Star Wars, you don't know what one. You know, what one was that?
Yeah, that was.
I don't know if that's the first one, going back to the second one.
Yeah, that was the
seven.
Phantom Menace. So that was a return to the screen. That was the clue in it there, Ruffy. At times, actually, you should look up a movie called Mannequin. Which reminds me of you when it comes to this quiz. You're useless. You just sit there as if you're a shop window. What?
It was okay when it was just a football question, but then you've thrown in all these music questions and TV just to throw you off the set.
It gives you a kind of a collection of the year, doesn't it?
It makes it worse because you can't remember the other three things without trying to remember the one.
Okay, we'll just do the quiz all about you then. It's all about
just
me.
Just Partick Thistle questions.
Yeah, exactly.
The question will be, when did Partick Thistle win the League Cup? What year?
Yeah.
And that's it for every break, every series, from to time immemorial.
Don't ask me who the captain is.
Oh, you're some man. Anyway, let's a couple of things I want to get your thoughts on, lads. This one is a thorny issue because it's Celtic who haven't given up hope on the SFA agreeing to a judicial inquiry. This is obviously looking into the financial implosion of Rangers in 2012. It's one of those ones where the SPFL have been so clear-cut in their statement because they've obviously sought legal advice at the highest level on whether they've covered all bases. The next part is the SFA. I don't think this is going to go away, Hugh. I think it's going to go UEFA and then Court of Arbitration for Sport, in my mind.
Do you think it'll go as far as that?
I think it'll go all the way because of the fans, and I'm not just talking about Celtic fans. I think there are other fans who are driving this thing. Whether, you know, there is absolutely no point in us giving your opinion on the situation because there are so many unknowns in the equation of this.
Yeah, my view in this, funnily enough, for me, has been consistent. I haven't changed my view since day one when it came in that the SFA should never be near an inquiry, because the SFA, the inquiry at all times should be into the SFA.
Yeah.
They should just sanction one. And it should be an independent inquiry into the governance of the Scottish game at that time. There's more than enough questions that really need to be answered. I mean, once you get into the minutiae of this 5-way agreement, you know, the granting of a licence, the rule that although the players' contracts were not fully disclosed, they were still not. It was improperly registered, but still eligible. That doesn't wash for me. I would need to see somebody, you know, have a good look at that.
I think the interpretation of the side letters as well.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the side letters are huge. I mean, that's the parcel that the SPFL looked at, listened to, and says there's a bit of ticking in here. We'll just pass this on.
Yeah.
I mean, that is central to everything, and I agree with you. That's why I asked you to emphasise it. I agree with you. It's not going away.
Yeah, I think it's going to. I think it's a red rag to a bull on this one, Ruffy, and there are so many supporters who are trying to take this to a point where I think they're even willing to fund it. Whether it's good for the game, whether people are looking outside into our game and, you know, continually wondering if we have a death wish on our own sport and one of our biggest clubs. The driving force here for fans, and I'm neither questioning, you know, the legitimacy or not on it, is they want the integrity of it. They want it out in the open, and then a decision made out with governing bodies here who may well, as you mentioned, have been culpable.
Yeah, you're right, you know, but I mean, I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not as thing as Hugh and the whole thing, but I think it's like in football, you want everything out there to be right. You want the big decisions to be right. This is a big decision that some people want to bring to a head, you know, and get to know what exactly happened, because I'm sure even the Rangers supporters will be sitting there going, in that turmoil of everything that was happening, they weren't even shaking their heads going, what is happening at our club? So I'm sure some of them would like to know as well.
Yeah, and as we have a number of issues that continually raise their ugly head, even in a European scale now, we have a situation where this financial doping on UEFA's fair play is gathering pace as well. There's going to be an investigation into, I don't necessarily think it's going to be down to Man City and Paris Saint-Germain, although they seem to be, you know, the main two culprits of just flouting this rule. But I think there's a lot of other clubs will be looked into as well. It's making a mockery of everything.
Yeah, I think it was a daft rule. Financial fair play I never agreed with in day one. I could see why Platini brought it in. He brought it in so the clubs wouldn't implode, that you wouldn't be sitting around Europe when you've seen the Rangers crashing, you know, X, Y and Z crashing, things like that. And they said, no, we'll have to get some structure in there. But to discuss, there's no danger of Manchester City crashing. There's no danger of PSG crashing. Matter if they start buying players for billions of pounds, they won't crash. The money is limitless,
but if
limitless.
If I could throw in, you know, a lesson from history, and especially closer to home here, you're absolutely right. There's probably no danger because they have, you know, oil billionaires and they have a country who's backing one particular team. But other clubs become a little, you know, crazy with their own spending and forget that they don't have those backers, and eventually sometimes an owner thinks, no, enough is enough. You know, I give you Bolton as a classic case, you know, just dropping right out of the division because they were in the end 174 million in debt. I personally think a club will go under. I think, you know, people say, will the bubble burst? I think it will in some places.
Oh, I think you agree, but whether that's a matter for the administration of the clubs, which is UEFA, or for the clubs themselves, this is, I mean, we don't want to get too heavy about it, but this is capitalism. This is what it is. It's like any business anywhere else in the world. This business plays with a ball and 11 people on the park, but it's capitalism. And in capitalism, you're going to have people spending to accumulate, and you're going to have people who make wrong financial decisions. That's going to happen, whether you're financial fair play or anything else. I think financial fair play has muddied the waters. I think it was a commendable motivation behind it, but I think it was completely unworkable. And I think it'll just, I mean, these investigations into Manchester City and Paris Saint-Germain are doomed to failure, because what are they going to do at the end of it? Fine them? You know,
exclude them from Europe?
No way.
No?
No way. I mean, as soon as they start, then you start saying my lawyer's bigger than your lawyer. And see, the thing about UEFA now, if UEFA have got to be very, very careful for the big clubs, because see the big clubs now, the big question in all major clubs' lips is, what do we actually need UEFA for? That's a big question.
There's one other little story that emerged today that I think has implications here in Scotland, and I certainly would like to see the SPFL follow suit on this one. This is the English Premier League, and they've announced that they are going to close that window before the season kicks off. Here's the statement released by the Premier League. Premier League clubs today have agreed to a rule amendment that will see the summer transfer window in any year end at 5 o'clock on the Thursday before the start of the season. This is for Premier League clubs only and has no bearing on other leagues and competitions. The first transfer window in which this will apply will be the summer transfer window in 2018, ahead of the 2018-2019 season, and will close at 1700 hours on Thursday, 9th of August 2018. I think it's a great idea. Buy your players, that's your squad for the start of the season. No other jiggery-pokery. I do think there's a loophole.
You knew that.
I knew it was coming to see you, you know. And there is a loophole, but, you know, listen, at least it's a positive move.
I agree with you. In a level playing field, just you have your squad and that's your season. In fact, I would even apply it to no January window as well, and just take it that way. But as you know, there's loopholes, and there'll be people sitting through this, leafing through this. This is £1 billion business. This is, I mean, it's a colossal business where people will look and think and say, how do we get around this? How can we loans, you know, etc.
Out of contract
players, etc., etc. All it takes is an out of contract player to go to the courts and say, this rule is is a restraint of trade, not allowing me to work. And I think he's got an open and shut case.
Yeah, and what's happening is other countries have got different dates of their deadlines as well. So I mean, you can go to them, you know, and pick players. So I mean, it's just, again, it's the big clubs, as Hugh says, flexing their muscle and flexing their millions as well.
Yeah, but I don't think the English clubs can go to them. This is the point. They'll stop on that day. The foreign clubs can do what they want, but the English clubs will have to buy them. The last point on this, just briefly, I'd like to see them actually bring in a law limiting the loan players that they can fire out to other clubs, because I think that's the biggest joke in England.
That's a huge joke in England, absolutely. And Chelsea, as we know, has got 13 regiments out there. Chelsea have basically invaded Europe. They've got a task force over there. I mean, it's colossal. The other thing that's interesting, we'll just throw it out and we'll discuss it another day, is should we have transfer fees at all?
Yeah, oh, that's why I love Hugh. He's absolutely fantastic, you know. Finest journalist, great experience, and of course, driving me around the whole of Scotland at the moment. It's nothing worse when your car breaks down. I hate relying on anybody, but that's for another day. I've got to just say, Hugh MacDonald is a fine individual, and he almost pleased one of our viewers who was complaining about him, but believe me, he's a positive guy and good man and a night out as well. So, with that in mind, thanks to Ruffy, who's not running me about, and Hugh MacDonald. Good night.